Mike Tyson, beyond being the international legend he is today, is also the hero of many who have been bullied in school for fulfilling one of their greatest fantasies: standing up to their tormentor. The sweet taste of victory could become ecstasy if you obtain it from someone who took advantage of the innocence of your youth to mock you, even when you had already left that innocent child behind. Welcome. In today's video, I invite you to take a journey back in time to the glorious night when Mike Tyson stepped into the ring with his tormentor and taught him the lesson of his life. I hope you bring an umbrella, because a brutal rain of blows is forecasted that you won't want to get splattered by. As of today, Carl Williams is a former professional boxer who had a decent career, bordering on mediocre. With his debut in '82, his introduction to the world of punches had happened long before in a clandestine manner. His skill in the noble art of fists drew the attention of his peers, as he remained undefeated during his first 15 fights and was only stopped on May 20th, '85 by Larry Holmes.
Depending on the severity of that cut by the eye, good combination by Holmes. Carl can't get careless now. Stops Larry from running.
Holmes defeated him by unanimous decision at the end of 15 rounds in a fight for the International Boxing Federation's World Heavyweight title. Shortly after, a second defeat would come at the hands of Mike Weaver.
Williams. Weaver is hurt. Round 2. 1:14 to go in the round. And down goes.
But he would continue accumulating victories with a list of opponents filled with significant names like James Tillis and Trevor Berbick, making him look like the next great rival to beat. Interestingly, the fight I'm about to tell you about is not the first time Tyson and Williams faced each other in the ring. The two squared off in late July and early August of '83 in White Plains, New York. At that time, Tyson was just a 17-year-old amateur, and Williams was already a 23-year-old professional with a record of 11 wins and 0 losses. Fortunately, these sparring sessions were recorded, and HBO showed bits and pieces of them before their professional encounter. This led Jim Lampley, HBO commentator, to say that, in most of the videotapes he had seen, Williams was able to control Tyson with his jab and occasionally landed right crosses that bothered the amateur.
Which seemed to bother the young amateur. But you also saw the beginnings of the peekaboo style, able to control Tyson with his jab and occasionally landed right crosses.
But on the night of July 21st, '89, at the Atlantic City Convention Center, New Jersey, Mike Tyson no longer stepped into the ring as an amateur. It was his second defense of the Ring Magazine's heavyweight title, the sixth defense of the International Boxing Federation's heavyweight title, the eighth defense of the World Boxing Association's heavyweight title, and the ninth defense of the World Boxing Council's heavyweight title. This made Tyson, the great knockout machine, enter the ring as the youngest heavyweight champion in history, and Williams was little more than his challenger. Williams entered the fight as the #1 heavyweight contender of the International Boxing Federation. His plan was to work behind his left jab and tie Tyson up whenever he came in. While theoretically possible, practice was what generated high expectations. Williams' professional record already stood at 22 wins, with 17 of them by knockout in 5 rounds or less, and 2 losses. It seemed nothing compared to Tyson's 36 consecutive victories, 32 of them by knockout, 28 of which were in 5 rounds or less, and 6 during the first round. Statistically, this would be a true massacre. Under the supervision and wisdom of Randy Newman, both fighters came out of their corners ready to battle. Tyson's left was the first to break the ice. Quickly, the fight escalated to close-quarters exchanges.
Williams' corner are sincerely. This is so resilient here.
Perhaps Carl thought he could dominate Tyson as he did 6 years ago. But nothing would have prepared him for what was to come. With Newman putting distance between the fighters after each clinch, Tyson cleverly changed his offensive approach. The champion, who always came out of his corner to annihilate his opponents, briefly adopted a tactical role that allowed him to study Williams' movement pattern. By the time he had gathered enough information, it was time to go back into massacre mode. A fearsome left hook sent Williams to take a brief break on the canvas. His body fell inert, and his torso was held by the ropes. Otherwise, he would have been thrown out of the ring. Newman began the safety count, but it seemed that the strength in Williams' body had been drastically drained. It took him until 8 to get back on his feet, although his gaze remained lost in limbo. Newman tried to check his reflexes and realized what Tyson had known from the moment he landed that lethal blow. The fight was over. By the time Williams reacted, he was indignant at Newman's decision. Tyson attempted to shake his hand as a gentleman, but his rival's attitude made it practically impossible. By the time he was reached by his corner, the still undisputed champion was overwhelmed by his team's celebration. Despite their rivalry from years ago, both fighters shared a hug that seemed to mark the end of the rivalry. But almost instantly, Williams confronted Newman to challenge the decision he had made while Tyson was already heading out of the ring. Quickly, the fighting ring turned into a real circus. With an irreversible decision, there was no protest that could resume the fight. If you've made it this far, I thank you. Did you enjoy the story? Remember, there's no better way to support my content than by leaving your like on the video. Now that you know the story, do you think Carl Williams ever really had a chance against Tyson? Or was it just the sports press's eagerness to find a good rival for the youngest heavyweight champion in history? I'll read you in the comments.